Welcome, everybody, to the Murder Theater podcast. We are happy to be here. We are going to... Yeah, we are. We're happy to be here. Well, it's been a little bit of a rough start, but hey, how we're going. Tammy,
we're happy things are working now.
We're happy things are working now. Tammy, how are you?
I was really good a second ago, and I'm not going to let this little tidbit get me down, but I just noticed that I got gesso on my favorite jeans, and I know there's some people that can relate to how frustrating that is out there, but that's okay. We're all here now. We're going to talk about wrestling. We're going to have some laughs. So I think I'm going to get better.
What did you get on your jeans?
Gesso.
Oh my gosh, that sounds inappropriate.
I'm like, who is that?
It's you know what it is? It's a painting. When you paint on as an artist, which I am.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's what you use to prep the canvas. It's got a ground in it, so something can adhere. But I realized that was a really inappropriate sounding word, which is hilarious.
No, I just missed it. It sounded like you said Jeff, and I was like, "Are you talking about your dad?" Like.
Well, his ashes are in this room, by the way.
I know that's what I was thinking. Like, wait a minute, what happened? Because you guys didn't tell me what the technical difficulties were. I just knew we were off to a late start here. Okay,
you're right. Only you would know. That wouldn't have been far-fetched. But go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm happy to see you, Chris. So that's for number one.
I am very happy to see you guys too. I'm so excited that we can sit down and do this again. It's been a while. It's been a few weeks, so I'm very happy to see you as well.
Exactly. Yes. So I want to give you a little bit of background. Basically, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about WrestleMania. I know it's a little bit behind the ball on things, but to give you some background on it, this was Tammy's first WrestleMania she's ever watched.
Numero uno.
And believe it or not, the last WrestleMania that I ever watched was on March 29th, 1987, when Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan wrestled in WrestleMania. I swear that was the last.
That's a long time ago.
That's the last WrestleMania I saw.
Was that 2?
I don't know what it was, but it was Hulk and Andre.
You might have been 2.
was that WrestleMania 2?
I was 16 years old when I saw it.
It was either 2 or 3, I think.
Oh, then I guess you weren't 2 then. What year was that?
That
87.
Was 30 odd years ago. No need to do the full math on that.
So you would have been like 3 for reals, Chris?
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that either.
Oh, okay.
You'd have been a little guy. No, Chris would have been about 6.
No. Let's just move on.
Talk about it.
We are moving on from the numbers and the ages. So, long story short, Tammy, you've never seen a WrestleMania. Rafe, you haven't seen one since they started being WrestleMania. So, right. I will say this before anybody says anything else. This WrestleMania was good and not good for a lot of different reasons. I'll talk about that when it comes time.
Sure.
But not my favorite of the ones I didn't hate.
Of the ones you didn't hate.
But for a first WrestleMania, this was great.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, I think, yeah. I was surprised that Tammy liked it as much as she did. So, I really am.
I'm always surprised when Tammy actually likes something.
Well, I'm not really. Yeah. I said I am surprised.
For me.
I am surprised just knowing who you are.
Nobody knew I liked it. You already gave it away.
I liked what you liked.
I knew. I heard.
I was already all busted, I guess.
Oh,
you said you liked it.
Yeah, I did.
I'll put it on Twitter next time, so it's not a spoiler.
Spoiling it by spoiling the spoiler. Spoiler.
We're going to the Matrix here.
Spoiling the spoiler, right?
All right, we're already off the rails. We're 5 minutes in. Very typical.
Okay.
Very typical. If you guys are new listeners, new watchers, this is us. If you're gonna leave, now's the time to do it.
Right. You gotta bail now.
Yeah. Otherwise, strap in, baby. Strap in.
Because it gets real.
All right. I want to talk about something. I want to get us slightly back on track. For anybody that doesn't know, we did our predictions for WrestleMania. We were like a week out from the actual show when it happened. We were a little bit misinformed on some things and uninformed on others. However, we made our predictions to what was confirmed the best we could to the best of our abilities. And, I'm not going to go through match by match, who guessed what, blah, blah, blah. What I will say is this. I came in third place in the predictions. I was the least correct. And I'll tell you why. It's because I book things way better than WWE ever will. Now, as far as the runner-up in first place, drum roll. I'm gonna put a drum roll here, maybe, or something. Maybe I won't. Maybe it'll just be me talking. The Murder Theater, Universal, Undisputed, Predictions Champion, Tammy.
What? No. That's weird.
With a grand total of 8 correct predictions.
What?
Rafe, you came in at a like a slick second, right above mine at 5, and I had 4.
Oh wow!
So
what did I miss? I know I missed the Cody Rhodes one. I thought Cody was going to win.
I got that one wrong.
You and me missed a bunch of them, man. Tammy was the only one that seemed to know anything, which I don't know what the hell that says about anything. But hey, Tammy, if WWE's ever looking for a booker, it sounds like you're on the same page.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So one more round of applause for the champ. We will be doing this again for future pay-per-views that we're all planning on watching. That's great. Congratulations.
Woo! Wow, yeah. What a surprise, even to me. My day's looking up now.
That's true. There you go.
Well, that's a good way to start then. All right. Lord. Well, despite the fact that I probably, in hindsight, I could have done better had I watched that last week of TV prior to our predictions.
Oh, yeah.
And if I would have been honest with myself instead of guessing what I wanted to happen versus what I thought would probably happen.
Right.
I even watching back what we were talking about, like I knew some of them. I was like, I know they're probably going to go this way, but I really want it to be this. Right. And I was wrong on all of it. So, yeah, I think I could have done better. I'm going to try to do better next time. I'm going to try to get in the mind of somebody who doesn't understand what the fans want and see if maybe with WWE I can get
I think I'm your person to consult on that then.
And Rafe, you're just as bad as I am. So apparently you wanted good things too.
I did too. I wanted certain things to happen and they just didn't.
Tammy's a wrestling genius. So, with all that being said,
yeah.
Okay.
Tammy, it's your first WrestleMania. What are your thoughts on the spectacle? Was it overhyped in your opinion? Was it underhyped building to it? What's your overall vibe on it? How do you feel about the whole thing as a show? And what didn't you like?
Well, I'm going to start with what I didn't like because it was also my first impression, my very first impression, but it didn't stay. So it was, well, yeah, actually a lot of it stayed, but not every single thing. Was that, oh my gosh, all those gross germs and dirty bathrooms. That's what the first thought I had.
Okay.
Nothing to do with the matches. It was just the fact that she didn't want to be in an environment.
Don't speak for me. It was, I just couldn't get over it for a while, because I just thought it was almost too spectacle-y of a group of people. It was just too many, and it was overwhelming, and then it felt ridiculous for like half a second. But that second soon faded because then I ended up loving the bigness of it when I didn't have to look at all the people in the crowds and think about what it really was like being there, because that's just so big, But like looking at all the extra special effects with all the entrances, super loved that. And I felt that it made it so big and it was such a spectacle that you could see why they do drum it up so much for so long. And I felt that matched it. So I liked that actually. And I got it for what it was, to be the giant circus for everybody to love. And I felt that it delivered that. And I thought the wrestling matches were all good. And I'm glad that I didn't watch it all in real time because I was able to watch about 1 to 1.5 hours a night. And so I didn't get overwhelmed and lost by where it started. I was able to absorb it better and enjoy each person's bigness in their matches. with the big entrances. I mean, there's only so much of that shit before you go numb, at least I do. So that's why it was nice to be able to separate it and really appreciate it and understand this was meant to be big. It's drummed up to be big, and also makes it a bigger deal for the stories. And I, as you know, have been a casual viewer, but I even understood the stories and could be invested in almost them, not all, and I'll mention those later. I think was that all the questions answered in that one?
Yeah, you kind of covered it. That's kind of what I expected, honestly. And like I said, this was a great first WrestleMania for somebody, because the spectacle was very tight this year. It was very well done. There wasn't a lot of delay and lag in between things. Even on night 2, when it felt like the entire world was falling apart, it still kept a nice pace and everything. Honorary mentions for Snoop Dogg, because I think he saved a couple of segments. So, Rafe, I'm curious about how you felt about the show as a whole, the hype that was building into it, because we did talk about that in depth previously, and basically your overall satisfaction, happiness with the show, the outcomes, etc.
Well, it turned out exactly how I kind of expected it as far as the spectacle was concerned. I knew that it was going to be big because WrestleMania is big. It's been big for over 30 years now. So I totally got the fact that this is going to be the over the top event that WrestleMania is going to have, with the big intros, all the celebrity stuff that goes on with it, the Snoop Dogg stuff that's involved in it. And I liked it. I like that because I was expecting that. The only gripe that I had was the fact that it's long. It's pretty tedious as far as that's concerned, but it did flow. I mean, I don't know about 2 nights. 2 nights was like actually really, really the thing that it needed to be. I mean, Saturday night was a great night. I mean, so it was like that one banged it out, and it was like, do we really need any more? I mean, not really. I mean, they could have replaced a couple of those first night matches, you know what I mean, with the second night matches,
And they could have scrapped about half a night too, as far as I'm concerned.
And they really could have scrapped about half a night, because there was a couple matches here. I was like, man, why did they even do that? That doesn't make any sense. And we'll get into that later when we talk about matches. But the overall thing, awesome. I mean, you look in the audience, and Rick Rubin's sitting in the back, like behind the Spanish channel, right? Spanish broadcasters, which I thought was, I'm like, that's Rick Rubin, dude. That's killer. So I thought it was, and so that whole thing, the intros, the big, the ramp, the whole 9 yards. I mean, the costumes. I mean, everybody, you could tell. And what you really could tell is that people really coordinated their matches. Those matches were tight. Almost all of those matches were tight. They were good. There was no hesitation on anything. They were smooth. They may have been improving in the middle of those things from time to time, but you couldn't tell. You could tell that these matches were thought about. They've been working on these for months leading up to this. They kind of knew that they were going to be paired off, and that these matches just flowed, and just like the wrestling itself was just really, really good. I thought.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, Mania as a whole, and I said this, I don't know how many times when I was watching it, particularly on night 1 when I was trying to take it all in, I just kept saying, good grief, look at all those people. It's insane how many people, and by the way, whatever their number was that they fudged, the capacity on that place was like 5,000 to 10,000 less than what they kept saying was in attendance. So whatever. Really? And then they like to use the double night as their full attendance, which is, you're talking about double the stadium's capacity plus whatever their embellishment is. So yeah, they embellished it a little bit. It's still a shitload of people regardless.
A lot.
And the amount of money that goes into coordinating something this big, it's just very impressive. And as I said, a great first WrestleMania because it was so good and so big and so like huge and momentous, and sort of like it felt very important watching it. And I've said it before, it's a Super Bowl of professional wrestling, regardless of whether or not you're a fan of WWE. That is the big show. That is the show that like that's the whipped cream. That's the topping on your career. Like I've done it now. I've been at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So that leads me to my next question for you guys. Tammy, did you have any favorite moments from either night 1 or night 2? I know it's probably all blurry since you watched it in segments and everything. What was your like big like this was epic sort of I'm gonna remember this?
Well, I really liked all the women's matches a lot, and I really also liked the intro with the little girls with Bianca Belair. I thought that was really cool to be able to see like um little girls and like being strong, because that's not usually what they always get invited to do.
Right.
You know, is to be like aiding a champion in battle almost. So I thought that was cool to see that, and they were great, and so that stood out. And I liked all the women's matches. Trying to think anything else that really stood out.
Was there anything you didn't expect that was like, hey, that was cool?
Well, that's
doesn't
weird
have to
because
be a
I had
match.
no
It doesn't have to be a person. Was there just one moment that you were like, wow, I did not expect to see that?
I felt like a lot of it, I felt there was a lot of extra, almost like acrobatic type moves that I hadn't necessarily seen before. And especially women doing them too. So that's why I probably like the women's matches so much, because you saw such a range of abilities and I think some creativity in a lot of it. So I think that's what I liked. And that's
Okay.
really what stood out to me, is that women don't get showcased in other companies as much, which I've been in a cave just watching those, getting frustrated with the situation. So I think that's what stood out, was like, oh wow, these are like really tough matches and they're really going for it. And like the fact that like the Ripley match and all of that, like they had almost an hour, I think. I think it was like 45 to 50-minute match. So that stood out to me big time, because I don't get to see that in other companies all the time going that long, except for I think like some of the intergender with the GCW, like with that alley catch match, was pretty long. But this was like, wow, they're in a main event and they're going almost an hour. And like on AEW, that would be like a Danielson Omega thing,
Right.
And that was such a big deal, and you never saw two women really do that. The only closest you got was that whole one with Britt and Thunder Rosa, I think.
Sure.
That, and it was legendary just because it stood out. But so I was like, oh, that's cool. That really stood out to me, and it made me really like and they earned my respect. That besides the spectacle being fun and me getting it to be a big circus, I was like, oh, cool. This really isn't a big deal here, and it shouldn't be. It wasn't like, ooh, guess what? We're giving the women an hour. It's like, oh no, this isn't a big deal. This happens all the time. So like, yeah, we expect it, to have this big match and it go that long.
Not only that, but this women's match is going to take almost an hour, and you're going to feel like it was 15 minutes because the whole thing is a banger.
It really was.
So yes. I think it's fair to say that Tammy's favorite part of WrestleMania was anything that had to do with the women, because there was a lot of showcasing. There was a lot of talent being thrown out on display, a lot of successful women in the WWE right now, and a lot of contribution from women outside the company that were part of the show. So, Rafe, now I'm going to turn to you. Mm-hmm. Favorite Mania moments, matches, etc. What do you got?
I mean, I'd have to agree with Tammy on the fact that the way that they made the Flair Ripley match, as important as they made it, I mean, I thought that was really cool. They made it as important as the Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes match, and that was really cool. That's what I really liked about that. And like I was kind of briefly saying before, everything was coordinated so well. Like that's what I really liked about it too. The spectacle's the spectacle. That's always going to be awesome because it's WWE. It's just huge. That's the way it is. But to be able to have like match after match, when you have almost very few matches that were kind of like, oh, why did that happen? You know what I mean? These matches were like, oh, wow, that was most of the matches I watched was like, oh, wow, that's a great match. Here's one that stood out to me. Rollins and Logan Paul. All right. I expected nothing from that. Okay. Really, I expected nothing from that. I was like, all right, whatever with this dude. You know what I mean? Of course, I love Rollins, right? So I'm like, why are they doing this? Who knows? Because I don't know. I know there's some back history to it, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. But to watch that match and just at the end of it go, man, that was a really awesome match. I really liked that.
Hell yeah.
I thought that was like, that really like opened my eyes. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And I liked it. And so I was like, this is cool, man. Just the whole thing. Like when the Prime energy drink dude comes out and I'm
that
like,
was so
you were
silly
like,
and
what
funny.
the I really thought that it was just going to be a total joke. You know what I mean? Like everything was going to be a joke with this thing. And I'm like, dude, this dude's just, shilling for the man here, right? He's trying to get his money on his energy drink. It's like, what the hell is this all about? And then when they incorporated all of that into the match, I was like, I was impressed. I was like,
that was impressive.
That was cool, man. That was really cool. Because I was like expecting nothing.
It was creative.
Yeah. And that was like out of the matches that I was looking at, I'm like, that one was I had the least expectations for. I was almost like writing that one off because it was just like, whatever, dude. I didn't
think
really
a lot of
want to see
were.
it. And then it was impressive. And I'm like, Logan Paul he's a good wrestler, man. I was like, damn, this kid is really taking this shit seriously. He's really wants to entertain people. Sure, everybody wants to make their money. I get it. I get that. That's no problem. I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. But for that to not turn out that way, I loved it. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you because as much as I can't stand that guy, I mean, I really just, there's so many things I dislike about him. But he has not been any bit of a disappointment any single time he's been in the ring in a match. His promo stuff is okay, but his in-ring work is flawless. It kind of reminds me of when Bad Bunny did his whole thing and he hit that Canadian Destroyer and everybody was like, holy shit. It's very similar to that. And the fact that like nobody thought these guys were going to come in and be this good because normally you get these celebrities and it's like, I get it. It's a shtick, whatever. But he's very serious. And you can tell he's putting the work in and people are grabbing, oh, he rehearsed it for months. So what? He killed it. He killed, just like at the Rumble. Perfect. That spot with Ricochet where they met in the center of the ring off the ropes, that was crazy. Right. No regular person can just walk in and do that. And this guy is putting in that effort. So I respect it.
Sure. He's in great shape. You could tell he works at it. Who cares if he did it for months? That means that he cares about giving you a good product. I don't think people should rip on that for him. It's called practicing. Bands rehearse. You know what I mean? Football teams practice, hockey teams practice. You practice. It makes it better. So for them to be like, oh, blah, 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 that's bullshit. They have nothing else to talk about. So whatever with that.
He's an easy person to dislike because of the shit he's done with his podcast, like going to the Death Force, if any of that's true, whatever. So it's like people have to still be like, it has to be equal. When you go in to do something, if you do it well, then you have to be fair about that. No matter if you like them personally or not.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep. You got to acknowledge the good with the bad. What is the saying? Give credit where credit's due. I mean, credit is due. The guy is a hell of a professional wrestler and he doesn't do it full time. So shout out to him. Rafe, does that about cover all your favorites and interesting bits?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that was a good favorite moment. I really was super amused by the four-way tag with the men on the first night, that second match. And when they were talking about Otis and how he's just sweating for no reason.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
I was crying because that was a great comic relief type of moment. But to add to that wasn't chaotic, that match. A lot of those matches, if you look at them in AEW, when you have all of those dudes in the ring, they become chaotic. This one wasn't. It was very almost like had an enjoy wrestling feel where everybody got their moment in there. You know what I mean? And I think that's what entertained me the most about it. I wasn't even expecting that match to even come around. But then when it did, I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. This is kind of taking all of this intensity between these all other matches and putting some comic relief in it. Yeah. And I thought that was a good palate cleanser that led up to that Rollins Paul match afterwards.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of Otis. When he came up to the main roster, he was in a different tag team with this other guy that got released quite a while back. He was really funny back then. I like that he's like totally, you could tell he's like a serious worker, but also he's hilarious. Another person that's great about that, since we're talking about that match, is Montez Ford.
Yeah.
He's got a great balance of that sort of, I can be funny and I can also be like the holy shit guy, where I will do stuff that will blow your mind. And Otis the same way, like he's so agile and crazy for being a big guy. I love it. Just like I love Keith Lee and all that stuff. What I don't want to do is continue comparing WWE to AEW or to any other companies, just because there is so much more that goes into a WWE show than goes into any other brand or any other promotion stuff. And it's so heavily scripted that it's very difficult to say this person's better than so-and-so or whatever. The booking is different. The Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair match, I was on the fence as to whether or not that might be a good match. I was pretty worried that they were going to put Charlotte over again. And sort of just another like a hurdle for Rhea Ripley to have to jump again, because she's already been down the road with Charlotte. I was super excited at that match because not a single bit of it, like I said, felt like it was slow or lagging. By the time it was over, I was like, holy shit, that was incredible. How long was that fucking match?
Yeah.
Because it was amazing from start to finish. And I'm so glad that Rhea Ripley was able to be showcased as such a powerhouse and such a badass, because she really is. I mean, she's just an unstoppable phenomenon, and I'm so excited to see her getting what she deserves.
Yeah, and to add to that real quick, she won it clean. I wasn't expecting her to win that clean. I really wasn't. She won the match clean, like a legit clean wrestler, because she's a heel.
And they both wrestled clean. The entire thing was clean, which is crazy because Charlotte Flair, the daughter of the dirtiest player in the game, she's not exactly innocent 90% of the time in her matches. So the fact that they had a true wrestling match, the entire thing, and it was all good. There was no bullshit. Both of them look great. I don't think Charlotte looks any worse after this.
No, not at all.
I mean, she's won every title there is to win, and she's won so many times, and she's got records on all this stuff. It's Rhea's turn.
Mm-hmm.
And they both proved why. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was great.
I want to say one other standout for me for WrestleMania as a whole. The Dominic Rey Mysterio match. The entrances. Dom's was okay. It was a little bit comical because he came out in this shitty looking paddy wagon, and he's got like the security guys walking him out, and I'm like, what is this? But then Rey with the lowrider, which I felt, I might be wrong, but it looked a lot like Eddie Guerrero's entrance from, Jesus, I can't even remember.
I think they made a reference to that, though.
Well, the whole thing was kind of a tribute to Eddie. And the whole program with Dom has been, because Dom was involved in a storyline with Rey and Eddie many years ago where Eddie Guerrero was Dominic's real father and all this other stuff. That's why he's got the mullet and shit now, and he does the frog splash. It's all kind of throwing back to that. But that whole thing, and then the way they did the song succession, where it was like, I think Rey's total entrance had 3 or 4 different songs in it. The way they threw those in, it was just so great. And Snoop's involvement with the whole thing, fantastic. I enjoyed that entrance, I think, more than any other, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you want to talk about some gripes? I got a couple gripes.
Oh, boy, I got a lot. I don't know. I'll let you guys talk about that first. We'll see where we end up.
You go with the gripes. What didn't you like?
I don't really have any fair gripes. I mean, I think I know we're going to talk about this in a minute, but I really do wish Cody would have won.
Are you sure you watched the show? You don't have any gripes other than that?
No, and also I really don't have a lot because I don't have a history.
I just take this shit too seriously, I guess. I don't know.
And the other thing was, this isn't really a gripe, but it's because I'm not a regular watcher. I didn't understand the whole Edge thing. And I didn't know if it's just because I'm missing important storyline, and they were like great at wrestling, but I just wasn't invested. And I don't want to insult them because I don't want to say because it wasn't good. I felt like, I'm just not invested. I haven't as a casual watcher, known like what the deal is here.
Okay, so for the record, for our audience, Tammy is not impressed by Finn Balor's 14 staples in his skull. Just so we're clear on where the line is.
Right.
Nothing.
I was impressed with the lady that buckled him up in middle of the match to keep him from bleeding out. That's what I was impressed with.
I don't want to be insulting. It's not that it's boring.
No, I
didn't care. I didn't care. I just said, oh, okay, more good wrestling. I guess that's just not enough for me.
No. I guess you have to lose an arm.
But you know what? Maybe it'll come around the more I watch, and then next time they do that, I will be understanding, like more invested emotionally. But I really don't have any I had no expectations of WrestleMania whatsoever. I really didn't. I didn't care one way or the other, but once I started watching it, it was just fun, and I didn't take it that seriously. So, and I haven't watched it. I think I would have cared about certain things more had I been a regular watcher for a longer period of time. But you know what? I am becoming one, so it'll be different next time.
I want to say real quick, I feel like I need to be more like Tammy. She's getting all the predictions right. She's not disappointed in what should be one of the greatest shows of the year. You have something special about your fandom that I wish I could have.
I don't know what you're talking about at all.
Rafe.
All right. So,
what did you have issue with WrestleMania?
I didn't have a lot, which is cool. All right. So I didn't have a lot of issues.
Wait a fucking minute. Am I the only one who has a lot of pissed off stuff about WrestleMania?
That's fine. You can have a lot of pissed off stuff about WrestleMania. You've seen way more of it than we have. So you have. That's fine.
That's fair.
Fine.
Let's see what your things are, and then I'll understand better, because I'm so confused right now.
Right. Don't be confused. All right. Night one, I didn't like that Cena Austin Theory match at all.
No, that was stupid.
I didn't like it at all.
I told you guys it wasn't going to be good.
I thought that was
Who was that? I don't remember.
John Cena and Austin Theory. Exactly. You didn't remember it.
It was the opening match.
Oh yeah, now I remember. No,
the sun was still up. Nobody pays attention to that shit anymore.
Not my favorite match, especially with John Cena, as funny as he is in movies and stuff like that. It just didn't work for me.
Listen, the fact that they gave it the curtain jerker spot, I was like, okay, this is gonna suck.
Yeah. I really only had issues with night two. Night two was my biggest one. Night one, aside from the Cena Theory match, I liked every match on that card. All right, even like the Stratus Lita Becky match, I thought was pretty fun. Second night, Omos versus Lesnar, that was just okay. I thought it was going to be more.
I forgot about that one too. So that's telling. Go ahead.
The ladies' fatal 4-way was extremely disappointing. For Rousey to just come out and win, and it was going great, everything's going, and then all of a sudden it's over, she wins. It's like
very WWE though.
I was like, this is terrible.
Right.
We had a great match up until that moment, and then that moment it's like, oh, she wins? Get out of here. I was so pissed off after that. I thought I was gonna lose my mind. You know,
I started falling asleep at the end of that one, so I missed it though.
As much as I liked the Asuka Belair fanfare of it, I was disappointed in the match. Yep. I thought that could have been a little bit more of a banger type of match. It kind of fell a little bit short for me.
That deserved way more, in my opinion.
It did deserve way more. But other than the Edge Finn, I thought that was still a cool match. The Hell in the Cell match was still a pretty cool match. I was, like I said before, I was super impressed that lady kept him from bleeding like right off the bat like that. I mean, whoever is the med tech on there, they need an award for sealing his head up like that, because otherwise it would have been a John Moxley match.
I was gonna say, he looked like Don Callis out there, just fucking pouring.
Yeah, I know. It was just nasty. And then basically it was night two. Night two was a kind of a slower night. That's why, we could have done without a lot of that stuff and had one night of WrestleMania. You know what I mean? and and not. But I see why they do it. But that was just my opinion on that. The McIntyre Sheamus Gunther match, it was pretty good. I mean, like I said, it didn't.
Aren't you just supposed to be saying your complaints?
Yeah, I am. I'm saying my complaints.
He's saying like what was like not great.
He's saying good things too, though.
But he's doing it. He's doing it like, well, I expected more.
I expected more from that.
I got you.
So I did expect more from that.
I think we all did for that one.
Yeah, man. That's really my only gripes that I had about it. So.
God damn it. Oh, Jesus.
Here we go, Chris. All right, should I sit back?
All right. Night one, I have to agree, was an excellent night. I enjoyed night one so much. I was high on it. It was fantastic. I was sitting in the living room. My 7-year-old and my 9-year-old watched the entire thing with me. That says volumes that they would even sit through that much wrestling, let alone pay attention to it. And we were all chanting when Seth Rollins came out. It was magical in my living room, let me tell you. I was like, this is great. I've dreamed of this my whole life. So night one was incredible. There was like a few little hiccups here and there, like the Austin Theory thing, but who cares? Like I wasn't even like one beer in at that point. There was nothing happening. Like the sun's up, nothing's going on. Who cares? Then we got to night two. Once night one finished and I realized what matches were on that card, I was already kind of like, oh man, night two's in trouble. And it started off with Brock Lesnar and Omos, and what that should have been versus what it ended up being, very disappointing. For a Brock Lesnar match even, I've seen so many Lesnar matches where I'm like, this is garbage. I hate this. This was worse than that, and it wasn't even that bad. It was just so like, I don't care. Get off the TV. The women's showcase match, Rousey and Baszler, like, there was rumors that was going to be the thing, but here we are a couple of weeks later, and I'm still like, you could have done that on Raw. Could have done that on SmackDown. This did not. Why put that on WrestleMania?
Yeah, didn't need to be there.
Yeah, and that's the case with a lot of these matches on night two. Like, this could be a one-night event if they put the only banger matches on one night. Yeah, it'd be a long show, but it wouldn't be 12 hours of TV or whatever it is. That could be saved for these weekly shows that their ratings are like hit and miss. Like, save the dumb shit. Shane McMahon, I can't believe neither one of you brought this up.
We didn't pay much attention to it. That's why.
Fucking Shane McMahon shows up after being fired by his own father last year. Shows up for no reason. Tears a quad. Tears a fucking quad.
I thought there was
in a match he had no business being in. He didn't belong there at all. And it was so funny that I actually enjoyed the fact that he got injured because I was like, see, you don't need to be out here no more, you son of a bitch. Get the fuck away from this cup because the whole McMahon situation is really weighing on me, guys. I gotta say that. I thought we were done. It's kind of like, it's like if the Wizard of Oz, like suddenly at the end, the witch came back.
Right.
And everything was fucked again. Like, that's how I feel right now.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And Shane McMahon coming out, I was like, oh shit, what is happening right now? Is everything, this is it. This is the end. Company's going right back down to shitter. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to stop watching. But of course I didn't. I watched the rest. Because that's what I do to myself. I like the sadness. The biggest thing, I could bitch about night two all day long. The fucking Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns match. We all, we knew Cody was going to win. Is that the only reason he didn't win is because everybody wanted it? And everybody thought it was going to happen? It was the most logical thing. So what does WWE say? Oh, it's the most logical thing? Yeah, let's not do that. I'll tell you what happened. They haven't forgotten. They haven't forgotten that the Throne Breaker left the company, started a rival company, talked all kinds of shit in interviews, podcasts, everywhere, did everything he could to be the opposite of their product, and thought he was going to come back and win the title like that? No. Vince isn't going to let it happen. Hunter's not going to let it happen. They're saying that he needs to prove that he deserves it? He wrestled with a torn pec in Hell in a Cell with Seth Rollins.
I know.
And in front of the little boy.
Right. In front of Brody Jr. Yeah. Which, by the way, is super cool that he was there and that Cody gave him the belt and all that stuff. I thought that was great. It was a nice callback to when AEW felt like family, you know?
Yeah.
It just sucks that it's over here. Man, they were off to such a great start on night 1. And by night 2, I was literally so pissed off and so over everything that I saw on night 2. I didn't watch wrestling all that week, which says a lot because that means I missed like 8 shows.
Yeah.
Because I watch a lot of different stuff here. Like I'll catch it like in the mornings and then in the evenings, and I'll just make sure I'm watching everything to stay up to date. I didn't watch any of it. I was like, I don't care. I don't give a shit who's doing what. I don't care where they're doing it. I just don't care.
Oh, made you bitter.
And for one company on the biggest night of the year to ruin professional wrestling for me, I think Stephen Amell said it great. He said, thanks WWE for giving me 2 of the worst nights of my life.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Stephen Amell, if you guys don't know, that's the guy who plays Green Arrow. He's on the show Heels. He's good friends with Cody Rhodes. He's friends with CM Punk. For him to say thanks for just ruining everything twice, 2 nights in a row, that was like, yeah, I feel exactly like he does. And now I don't want to watch anymore.
Oh boy.
Thank goodness for, the talent and the quality of these shows, because if I didn't expect something better to happen in the future, I don't know that I would watch anymore after that. It was such a weird night. It was such a weird night. And to kill that momentum for Cody. And what are they going to do with him now? That actually brings me to my next question. What do you guys think is going to happen now? Did Cody make the wrong decision? He left AEW. He went back to the big show that he hated. His mortal enemy. He went back. He's like, I'm going to finish the story. Press conference, Triple H said the story's never over. Oh, fuck. What does that mean? It means Cody's never going to win a title, I think. What do you guys think about Cody's decision? Did he do the right thing, or is he just screwed forever?
No, I think he did the right thing because those people like him more in the audience, and they were not nice to him before, and at the other place he was. So I saw that was actually really painful to watch and confusing as a new wrestling fan at the time. Like, what the hell was going on? Oh, these people. And then it's like, and then it just became so old because you had to go through it week after week, and it just drug on to the point where this dude's lighting himself on fire. And so I just feel that literally he really did, and so I'm just like, I do think you made the right move because the people appreciate it more. So I just feel that I hope they give him a chance eventually, but that's my feelings on it.
Rafe, what do you think?
I think he did, man. I think they love him there. I know he lost, okay? And I know the management is a little bit pissed off at him and a little sour from the shit he talked, but the audience fucking loves him.
Yeah.
They hated him in AEW. We were there. You have no idea. We were at the show where Malachi Black was the first time he came out in the AEW, and Cody Rhodes left his boot in the middle of the ring, and they didn't give a shit. I mean, he threw his belt out one show, and they threw it back at him. So I'm telling you, even though he lost, number one, he got to wrestle in WrestleMania. It was the big show. It was number one.
The main event WrestleMania,
the main event WrestleMania. So he got that. Okay. Number two, I didn't, when I got to it after I made my prediction, was hoping he was going to win. When I started watching the match, I'm like, he's probably not going to win. And the reason I thought it was because he went out, he just got in the company, tore his pec, and hasn't been around. And so there's a lot of other guys that wanted to go after that title. And it's really not fair to those guys. So at that point, I kind of figured, okay, he's not going to win this. Right. But he did make the right decision. because the WWE fans truly love Cody Rhodes, and the AEW fans will never, ever take him back. And that's just the way it is.
Well, this might surprise you guys, but despite my misgivings and my negative feelings about how this program has gone, I agree 100%. Cody absolutely made the right move. Going back to finish the story, he is so much more over now than he ever has been in his career. No matter what company he showed up in, he was never this big. The man is a household name right next to Roman Reigns, and that is because he went back, which would not have happened had he not done that. I don't care how big AEW gets. This is the biggest thing going. So, I think he made the right decision. Will he ever win the title? Who knows? If they're smart, they'll put it on him soon, because his momentum will start dying down eventually if they don't try to keep it up somehow. But I think part of the big thing here, which is something I hadn't really calculated before, Roman Reigns is about to hit that 1,000-day mark, which is sort of like, that puts him in the upper echelon of like huge legacies in the business, right? You got your Hulk Hogan's up there. Your John Cena had like some long reigns, but they were never this big. And John Cena is a household name and will be forever. Roman Reigns is right at that peak where he's going to be the biggest thing to have happened in the 2000s. Outside of maybe some early 2000, like mid 2005 kind of stuff. He's the biggest thing in the last maybe 20 years. So, in hindsight, do I agree with the decision? Yeah, it makes sense for the storyline. It makes sense for Roman Reigns' character. It makes sense for Cody's character. He's got to fight back now. He's got to do what his dad did. This is his version of Dusty's hard times. Dusty had this classic thing. He cut a promo about hard times, and it was this battle with him. He had to wear the yellow polka dots, the stupid suit that they made him wear. He had to fight all these guys to get to where he was, and he never got the title, etc., etc. His brother was never treated right. I do think that somewhere at the end of this rainbow is a pot of gold for Mr. Cody Rhodes. I just don't know if they're going to get there when the momentum is right at this point. I don't know that Cody will ever be this big again. I think he's going to start sliding down the hill, and that's my biggest gripe about the whole thing. But absolutely much more, I don't want to say capable. He is more likely to be a bigger name since coming back for the rest of his life. Period.
Win or lose. Doesn't matter. Win or lose. Because he belongs there. You can tell. Because they love him, and he's
very much a WWE guy. Like, he flourishes in it, and he's great at the sports entertainment thing. He's very much like he's like a superstar babyface, and it is what it is. I don't know if you guys actually caught this interview recently where he was like, yeah, that whole time when everybody in AEW was saying you should be a heel, and I kept saying I refuse to be a heel, I won't be a heel. He said that was me being a heel. Clearly, he's terrible at being a heel, so I'm glad that we didn't get the run we wanted, because it would have been awful.
Yeah.
Thank God he went back to WWE and he's a babyface.
Yeah, he'll never be a heel. He just never will be.
Speaking of the completely unexpected, wildest things I never thought I'd see in the last, in WWE ever. First of all, Vince McMahon retiring, Vince McMahon coming back. The WWE has been sold for $9 billion and change to Endeavor, the umbrella company that owns the UFC. This is massive. Vince McMahon is no longer the majority vote on the board. He is no longer the majority shareholder. This could change everything for the better or for the worse. I know you guys don't know a whole lot about it. Rafe, you probably know a little bit more than Tammy does.
I do.
What are your thoughts?
I think if they let Triple H do his thing, they're going to be fine. I think if they don't, they're going to be in trouble, because WWE has started to improve when Triple H got a hold of things. Triple H seems to know the company well, know how to book things well, how to push things well. And I think if Endeavor decides they want to take take control from that, I think they're going to be in trouble. But I really just think Endeavor, it's just going to be like a Time Warner to AEW. I don't think it's going to be a big deal.
Or a Time Warner to WCW, exactly.
Yeah, or WCW. I just don't think that's going to be a big deal unless they start meddling with creative.
Yep.
The minute that these bigger companies come in and they think that they're going to get the ratings on a business that they don't really know about, that's when you start to have problems. And that's going to lead me to some discussion about AEW and how I feel about that too. That links into that as well. So I think if they leave them alone, let them run the way that they're running, I don't think there's going to be any problem with it. If they meddle, that's when we're going to be in trouble. And we'll see that the fans will see the meddling. We will see it.
Yeah.
If it comes down the line.
I'm more worried about Vince than I am Endeavor.
I am more worried about Vince and whatever kind of power or control he has within that, or decision-making process that he has within that. That's the thing that I get concerned about. They got to let Triple H be Triple H, because I really think he really pushes like the women's division really hard. He really pushes like these really good matches, and he really knows these storylines well.
Yeah.
And as long as we stay on that path, we're cool.
Yep.
But, big companies, they don't always scare me unless they start to meddle. And it would only be a problem if they started losing money. And I don't think they will ever lose money on WWE. Judging from the amount of people that showed up at that WrestleMania, I don't think they're going to lose their audience share.
Especially if they keep firing half of the roster every year. I mean, you can't be more profitable than that. So
no, they cut bait and then they make money.
They do what they got to do. Okay, yeah, that's, you kind of about summed it up how I feel as well. I don't think Endeavor is going to have much of a hand in the product. I think hopefully they can help out a little bit with marketing, because WWE's marketing isn't always great. It's targeted the right way. It's just some of it's very hokey and some of it is a little lazy. For instance, the thing with the Auschwitz footage that was used recently for a promo for Dominic when they were talking about Prison Dom. You guys apparently didn't hear about this.
No.
There was a short clip of Auschwitz, the walk. It's that walk with the famous hooked fence that you see. Well, obviously. Yeah. And they came and did a public apology and everything, but it's like things like that will not go and pass through a company like Endeavor. If they can get a better marketing team that actually crosses every T and dots every I, I think it'll be nothing but beneficial to the product and to the company. They do need to stay out of creative, though, because right now they're in the business. UFC, Dana White recently said, he was like, those guys are all talented. They all do great things over in WWE, blah, 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 but it's a scripted product. What we do is 100% the opposite. There will be no crossover. There will be no, like, oh, so-and-so is going to go over here and go over there, which I think is the perfect way to handle it. Hopefully Endeavor sticks to that. Tammy, do you have any thoughts on this at all?
No, I mean, I know nothing about them, so I don't have an opinion. And I think I just agree with the general consensus here. Just as long as they don't meddle, we're all good.
Do you have any disturbing thoughts about the evil Vince McMustache or anything that he's been up to?
Who's that?
Vince McMahon.
I didn't know if this was like.
He recently got a mustache for the first time in his whole life. So
he looks
I
like
can't stop
Gomez
thinking about
Adams.
I was thinking maybe somebody made a parody of him, and that was their parody name of him. That's what I was thinking. I missed the TikToks or something. But
no.
I don't like misogynist men, so I have nothing good to say, and that's why I don't say anything about him. Mostly, I mean, the whole paying off and this and that, whatever. But we're all humans owning companies and businesses in this world. So whatever they do in their personal life, I guess he's paying the price for it, literally, with like having to pay off people or whatever. But I don't know. I'm judgmental of people like him. So I'm not a good person.
I think it says enough, Tammy, for you that you didn't really enjoy the product until he was no longer a part of it. So,
yes, I think I feel better about it now that he's no longer a part of it. But I was watching it, I guess, maybe when he was a part of it. I don't know.
A little,
but not much.
There.
I was repelled from WWE, and that's why I started out at AEW, because I wanted diversity. I wanted more equality for women, wrestling, as I've mentioned so many times before, didn't always feel like a safe space for women.
Well,
or
that's gone real well with
LGBTQ.
AEW, hasn't it? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
I
We'll get into that more in a minute.
Yeah.
Before we move on from WWE though, and the bullshit Jesus they have. The draft is coming up. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this concept.
No.
It's a fake version of any draft you could imagine, with sports teams, etc. Basically, everybody that's under contract with the WWE is on the table, and they will get drafted to either SmackDown or Raw. Now, in the last few years, this hasn't mattered much anyway because people are jumping back and forth, which I think the networks are happy about because they all want whatever the biggest thing is, right? But you do have your staple, like you have the Raw Women's title. That's obviously going to be defended on Raw. You have the SmackDown Women's title. That's going to be defended on SmackDown. So whoever those stars are, they're going to be on those rosters. The draft is a yearly thing that gives it's like a refresh after WrestleMania. They can kind of change things up and move some storylines around.
Cool.
With that being said, is there anybody that you guys can think of you'd like to see on the opposite show from where they are now?
I could tell you who I don't want to see on the opposite show, but it's going to happen inevitably. I like Rhea Ripley on Raw. I mean, I think I don't know how they're going to because they're going to have to pull over the Judgment Day on that.
Well, she's the SmackDown Women's Champion now, so she's going to be going to SmackDown for sure.
She's going to be going to SmackDown for sure, but then what happens to the Judgment Day?
I think it's safe to move all of the Judgment Day over, honestly.
So that kind of blows that aesthetic out for me because it's they hyped it so much that they are Raw. They're the rulers of Raw. You know what I mean? So it's going to be kind of an adjustment to try to look at that. I like it all, so it doesn't really but just that little element of it, taking them from Raw over to SmackDown, it's going to be a weird adjustment for that because, like I said, they've always ruled Raw, and I don't know what they're going to do with the Usos either because the Usos kind of really ran Raw too. You know what I mean? So are the Usos going to go over to?
But they were a SmackDown team.
Right, they were a SmackDown team, but they were more.
But see, they're Universal. Now we're talking about Universal Championships. The men's tag titles are Universal. The men's heavyweight title is Universal. The women's titles are still separated. The women's tag titles are still separated. There's only one brand or the other, and there's not a women's title for women's tag title for Raw and a women's tag title for SmackDown. They have one that applies to all three brands, including NXT.
Right.
Which says a little bit more about the wool that's being pulled over our eyes with the showcase of the women in WWE. The fact that they're missing 4 titles, a tag strap, and then a separate strap for each brand, versus having all these titles for the men. Yes, they're showcasing women. They are still not giving them the same amount of opportunities. NXT, if you count those belts, you've got to add in the men's belts too. So it's still, the ratio's still not correct. Right. But with those Universal titles, that does give you the option of this team can now go back and forth like the Usos have. Roman, obviously back and forth. But you can't do that with, say, the SmackDown Women's title, the Raw Women's title. You can do that with the Women's Tag Championships. You can do that with the Intercontinental title. You can do that with the US title. Because they're not specific to a brand, but those 2 women's titles are the only ones holding people up right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is strange to me, because it's not like they don't have a full bus full of women that they could just throw out at any time to either show. They have plenty of talent.
They've got a ton of talent. But yeah, I don't know. I'm that was really my only concern about the draft. Everything else, it's I can see anybody else flipping over one side or the other. That's really not going to matter to me because we're going to still get the entertainment.
Right.
I'm just curious of how they're going to run the storylines with the new belts and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, well, I will tell you this.
Title holders.
I hope the draft shows are more exciting than they've been in the past. In the past, it's been they take Raw, and throughout the night they'll say, the next draft pick for Raw is so-and-so. And they don't come out or anything. They just do an announcement and they show a graphic. And it's that for Raw and it's that for SmackDown. And it's really lame. Usually Stephanie McMahon was the one that would do it. Obviously, she's not going to be doing it this year. I'm hoping they'll come up with something a little more creative. Rafe, do you have any new AEW gripes you'd like to get out of the way?
We don't.
I think we all have some.
We don't have enough time on this podcast for me to get into all the AEW gripes. But I will say this: I am going to be extremely upset if CM Punk shows his face on AEW again.
Oh, says the guy. A couple of weeks ago, you were like, CM Punk's coming back. I was like, there's no way.
He is coming back.
You can't talk like that. It's not going to happen. I fully 100% believe that now.
That he's not coming back?
No, I think CM Punk is coming back. And yes. I'm so worried about the whole thing. What happens?
Saturday show.
I mean, dude, what do you guys think about all this stuff with the what are the guys? The boys. I love that they're calling them the BBC now. The Blackpool Combat Club. Yeah. What do you guys think about this thing with them and the Elite right now?
Yawn.
I think I need to say something up front so that everybody's aware and there's full disclosure before we have any more conversations about AEW.
This is very serious.
He doesn't even know what I'm going to say. Don't listen to him.
I don't either, and I'm curious now because that felt serious.
Well, the thing is this, okay, and this is about, and this goes back when you had very good reasons why not to compare companies, and I think they're very valid and people should listen to that. But I personally do a lot of comparing because I have limited amount of time in my life to watch wrestling, and I need to figure out where the fuck I want to put my time. You know, it's like I can't watch every company all the time, so I look at, well, who's earning my time? They are not earning my time. And this is what I really want to strongly let you know, because I'm not going to weigh in on anything that's going to be said because I haven't been watching them. Because I have just figured if I'm going to spend a week watching wrestling, I'm going to do that 6 hours of the WrestleMania. I'm not doing AEW. The only other things that could pull me away is Enjoy. And I do like the GCW. I think those are the letters. I'm enjoying that. And so if I'm going to spend my time and I have to choose out of all those, and I don't have all the time in the world, then AEW is getting dumped until they get their shit together. To me as a consumer, feel that they should be pulling my time. And the other thing is, in my heart of hearts, I feel like Kenny Omega and the Elites need to get the fuck out of there. Do you know, it's like being on the playground when like you build something and someone comes and steals your shit and tries to claim their place like that on your creativity. They help start that entire company, but unless they're really good at the kayfabing all this fucking CM Punk drama, all I can say is I would get the fuck out of there. You don't fucking take my shit and then fucking put me in timeout. So and then take all, do all this stuff with all their titles and everything. It's time for them to go to a new promotion or start something new and get back the excitement that they started with at AEW. Okay, so that's my full disclosure. So now I'm not going to say shit about any of the other stuff.
Well, I am still going to ask you some questions. And if you decide to have an answer at that time, we'll discuss it then. Okay. I do like your opinion. I'm glad you said all that. I think that's how a lot of people feel, honestly, right now. That whole situation is so sour and so bad, it's rough to think about. Rafe, before we move into the predetermined topics, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, I'm really on board with Tammy. Now, here's the thing that I think is ruining, I'm not going to say ruining AEW, hurting it for me personally. I think that Tony Khan is more concerned about getting ratings than he is about telling stories. And I think that he doesn't understand the concept of telling these stories the right way. And I think when he does that, it hurts the company. I think he tries to throw certain things in because he thinks the audience is going to like that. And that's why everything gets so mixed up constantly with storylines on. And so when that occurs, that you don't have that development of the stories to make things interesting, to make things more exciting. It's so I know you know the word for it, but it's like it's so out of place. Everything's disjointed as far as like the way the storylines have begun in AEW and the way that they are ending up now. Now we know that they change their storylines. Wrestling changes their storylines. That's fine, but the way that they're trying to do this is it just seems like I just want to try to get as many popular people on television as possible so that I can please Time Warner so they can see that we're getting ratings so they think that they'll continue to have this. And I think he's losing the concept and losing the faith in the audience that if he tells a good story with these people, he's going to get the people to watch regardless of who he thinks is on there. Because even Jericho said on a podcast, Mark Maron's podcast, and you can quote me on it and go look it up. He said that Tony Khan looks at everybody's ratings per hour, not even, I mean, even per minute sometimes, with saying who's getting the biggest pop or the biggest rating at that time. And I think that is really what the deficit is with AEW right now. Number one, they completely are doing something so strange with the women's division that I can't even wrap my head around that concept of it. That I'm just like, why are you doing that? Because I can tell you this, if they did with Jamie Hayter what they did with Rhea Ripley, Jamie Hayter would be the biggest star out there. But they didn't do that. They turned her into a babyface out of nowhere, which is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen.
Only because they ran out of babyfaces because they turned everybody heel.
Right. Because a hater's gonna hate and you're a super babyface. Sorry, doesn't work for me. All right. So they killed that.
And just so everybody's clear, Rafe is a huge Jamie Hayter fan, and so are the rest of us. But this sucks.
This sucks. And another thing is, they are trying to be GCW, and they can't be it.
It's like GCW Light.
GCW Light. And it's like, you can't do that because you know you're not going to be able to do that stuff on television. You know what I mean? So Moxley bleeding every Wednesday is getting boring. I'm sorry. As much as I love Moxley, I'm reading his book. He's funny as hell. I love him. He's awesome. But that's getting old. All right.
I mean, we've sent in our Murder Theater group chat, we have made several jokes about Jon Moxley and his bleeding.
Yes.
And it's getting old. It's getting old.
It kind of fits the same thing that you're saying about everything else. It's just sort of this redundant kind of steamroller of never changing and then ruining the stuff that's good for the sake of changing things that were bad somehow. Right. It doesn't make sense.
So that being said, it's really taken my attention away from it. And I think this whole Jade Cargill thing is ridiculous. I think they've misused that.
I've been saying that for almost a year now, man.
Easily.
I was on that way before you guys were tired of it. I told you. I said the shit with Jade Cargill is not a good sign.
No, it's not. And they've buried the House of Black, which could be their cornerstone of AEW, could be the House of Black, the cornerstone of it. Darby Allin could be the cornerstone of AEW. People want to see him. And I don't think Tony Khan understands that. They want to see Darby Allin out there.
Yeah, the House of Black should be a huge heel faction in the wrestling business.
Sure.
To the point where there was a point in time months and months ago where Judgment Day was like House of Black on Wish. You know what I mean? And now they're an afterthought.
Right.
Despite having the trios titles, all this stuff that's happened, who cares?
Yeah, and they kind of like stumbled into the trios titles. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, okay, I guess they're the winners.
All because it seemed like they didn't really know what else to do with them.
Yeah, I'm like, are you kidding me? You need the promos alone for the House of Black are better than almost any promo that AEW has.
Yeah, top tier.
Top tier. And to not use that as the cornerstone and anchor your company on that is just, I feel like that seems to be bad business sense. Like, you're not looking at the right things here. You're not looking at that.
I'm going to add in some positives as we go through these negatives. I will say this about the House of Black. I think Julia Hart's evolution and elevation to where she is now is fantastic. Julia Hart is super impressive now. I love her character right now. She is the star of the House of Black at the moment because she's the only one that seems like a credible competitor because of the way they're being booked.
Right.
So that's my positive there.
That's your well, yeah, because there is, but there's been a lot of paths with some of the women that have just fallen short.
All of the women,
like
nobody is successful right now.
No, Penelope and Bunny could be superstars there, but they're an afterthought. Butcher and the Blade could be the perfect spoilers of every kind of match for anybody at any given moment.
Yep,
misused. Right? They've got the Hardys back. Let's see how disastrous they make the Hardys, right? I mean, really.
Oh, that reminds me of like when Jeff was first going to come over and I was like, you guys wait, this is going to be great. I'm so embarrassed that I ever said that now.
Right.
It's been nothing but a dumpster fire.
It is. And now.
That's more entertaining in its own way.
That's kind of entertaining.
Like we've had a couple of great swantons, but it hasn't been worth all the bullshit.
Right.
Right.
Misuse of the Acclaimed. You know what I mean?
Oh God!
Misuse of
why on earth did they derail all of these great things as soon as they start, and then they're like, well, why doesn't anybody like them anymore?
Yeah, why are we losing ratings? Well, because
you put the fucking belts on the Gun Club.
Yeah, and it's like, what are you doing?
I'll never get over that.
I'm just so confused by it that it doesn't make sense in the sense of this is a wrestling program. This is not, a ratings grab because you got American Idol on. This is a wrestling program. People tune in because they want to see the storylines develop. That's the whole point. And they chop up these storylines so badly that it's just throwing everything off, and great wrestlers are just getting buried. And it's lame.
There are some positives right now. Adam Cole, the comeback story, I'm liking so far. I'm liking this whole kind of rebranding and revamping of the Dark Order. They're still not considered, like main event, but at least they're not buried in the, the bottom of the mid card now. They're sort of out and they're getting some love. There are some things that are working. The problem is, and it goes back to what you were just saying, I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop and for them to shit on whatever the good thing is. So I can't invest in something anymore because they've let me down so many times. As soon as I start getting excited about something, I'm like, oh, they're going to find a way to kill this.
Yep.
So it's a shame because you've got all these things. And then I want to mention this real quick. They've had some recent signings. Taya Valkyrie, underwhelming, boring. When are we going to get to Jade? Is she going to take the title? Probably not, because Jade's beat everyone in the company. It wouldn't make sense. And if she does, great, but too little, too late. I don't even care about that fucking strap anymore.
Right.
Jay White. Everybody really thought he was going to go to WWE. I get why he didn't. I think there was some issues with WWE and communication because they were planning WrestleMania and all that stuff. I think also it was kind of like, well, if Vince is back in control, he's probably not going to want a Jay White because that's not his ideal performer. And I think Jay White probably went, I see what's happening over there, and I see what you did to Johnny Gargano and everybody else that's my size. I'm not doing it. And Jay White went, I've been successful in AEW. I can continue my Bullet Club shit. I can continue my New Japan shit, and I can just do it over here. I think that makes sense. Then you've got somebody like Billy Starks, who's just signed to this company, phenomenal young athlete, been everywhere already, has a bunch of titles right now. They're going to ruin her too. They're already starting to. This company keeps taking great things that everyone's excited about and going, here they are, it's really fun and super rad, but we're going to fuck it up for you next week.
Yeah.
So what is the motivation to keep watching? They finally made FTR the tag champs again. Yeah. Too little, too late. Once again. Right. They should have never lost the damn titles in the first place. They were at the peak of their entire career. 2022... Well, 2021 and 2022 was the best years that team has ever had.
Yeah. They were great.
And they went, nope. And now it's like, oh, okay, well, they got the titles again.
Yeah.
They've
no
now
big deal.
They announced that they signed new 4-year contracts and they plan to retire after this. I have to say, I really hope it's worth it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I hope they got a good bonus package and they give them a Rolex at the end of it.
Because I mean, honestly, they can't even keep tag teams together. And the ones that they do have together usually end up popping into a trio or hopping into a 4-man or hopping into a faction or they break up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the big tag teams in AEW right now?
I can't even think of them.
That are wrestling right now.
The Acclaim. That's the only one.
The Gun Club.
The Lucha Brothers. Now they're in ROH.
Well, they've also been in the trios thing.
Right. Who else? Butcher and the Blade, but they never use them.
That's a mid-card team. They're never going to put them in the title picture, even though they should. Those guys should have had a run with the title a long time ago.
A long time ago.
This is the thing about AEW. They take these great things and they make you stop caring because the booking sucks.
It's disappointing, man, because I loved AEW. And the reason I loved AEW because it was so different. It was so cool. It was so like, when you got a guy like Darby Allin coming out on a skateboard, that's what made it cool. It's like, why didn't he go with that stuff? Why are you going back to this traditional, I need to compete against WWE? Be your own thing. You were your own thing. That's what people got psyched about. You were doing your own thing. And now you stopped because you're concerned that Time Warner's not going to give you enough money. Why? You have to have faith in this audience. They were the fans because of those things, because of that stuff.
Literally, you take somebody like Tammy, right? Never really got into professional wrestling her entire life. Found this AEW product. It was so different and so cool and so unique and so interesting. She suddenly becomes a super fan. Drags Rafe in, kicking and screaming. Rafe's like, okay, I'm a fan too. Fuck it, let's go. And now we don't even want to watch this shit anymore.
Right.
It's been crazy. A year and a half that this podcast has existed. It started out as an AEW podcast and has turned into anything but AEW.
It really has. It's surprising.
For me, it's not a big deal because I watch everything anyway. But for you guys, it was like, that was the thing. Yeah. And it was like, that's the ticket that got you in the door. And then now you've left it because it's like, whoa, you guys fucked it up too bad. Everything else is now better.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, it's so true.
That's exactly the trajectory.
The only thing that I love about AEW right now, the only thing is MJF. That's it.
Even that's a little iffy though. I know you guys haven't been watching a lot lately, but the current program I heard
the last promo he did was not that great.
Well, no, the promo was good, but the problem is they've got him in there now. It's Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and what? Ricky Starks, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know, the pillars.
Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and who was the other guy?
See how screwed up this company is? The 4 pillars, you can't even remember the other one.
Oh
Adam Cole? Is he saying Adam Cole?
No. Keep talking and I'll come up with it.
So we're in this thing right now where they're trying to figure out who the next number 1 contender is, right? Yeah. We've got the 4 pillars that the company has built the
Sammy Guevara.
On. Sammy Guevara. Jesus Christ. I can't even believe I forgot that.
Well, that's how badly they shit all over him.
Well, this program is terrible.
Right.
They've already done all this.
Right.
Why are we here?
Right. I don't know.
Where's the rest of the talent? Why are there? Where the fuck is Miro?
Right.
I know. I was thinking about him the other day. He's acting
Miro has squashed everyone except for MJF, I think.
Right.
And he should be next in line.
Miro makes me happy when I see him on the screen.
I'm not sure. I don't even know how you can remember that. I feel like I was a child the last time he was on TV. And that says a lot because I'm an old man now. But this is the whole thing. I will say this. The new show All Access that they're doing that airs after Dynamite on Wednesdays, it's actually really good. I didn't think I was going to like a wrestling reality show because I hated all the stuff that I'd seen previously that WWE did and everything. This one's really good, though. For instance, suddenly I find myself being a fan of Sammy Guevara and Ty.
Oh,
Again, I
really?
like them. I like them now. Because in real life, they're great. I hate their vlog. Their vlog is still stupid. But on this show, the actual real lifeness of their well, it's not even that. It's just like they're so supportive of each other. It makes you just be like, yeah, I love this. I love the vibe, you know? Just like with Britt Baker. You guys know how I feel about Britt Baker. I was so bored with her for so long, and now she's one of my favorites. Because of how much she's been able to like open up on the show and like talk about things. They go into the stuff about Thunder Rosa and her not showing up even though she was hurt. Like, yeah, she's hurt, but why can't she come hang out? The whole stuff about the interim championship for Toni Storm. They go over all that stuff. It's very, very interesting and probably more compelling than the actual product. The fact that they're behind the scenes stuff is more interesting and easier to watch than the entertainment part says a lot about what's going on with their storylines.
Yeah.
Really
they need to utilize these people in a way that allows them to be who they are without trying to create this weird redundant narrative where everybody's good then bad then good then bad then good then bad. Nobody ever really gets to go anywhere, and they all sort of change character on a regular basis for reasons I still don't understand.
No apparent reason at all.
That doesn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah, I've been saying this for a long time. That's exactly the lack of creativity. That's exactly what I meant by that. I say it like every other podcast. Like, I don't believe this narrative. Well, there's only so much people can do. No, that's limited brains and minds and creativity. If you're paying a team to be story writers and creativity, then you need to hire better storytellers, because you know what? You don't run out of imagination and inspiration very easily.
Yeah,
when that's your career.
I think there's a lot more to that than what you're saying too. Because we're talking about Tony Khan being in charge of everything. The man has way too much on his plate, clearly. Yeah. And now you talk about Ring of Honor being added into that, which the Ring of Honor show isn't too bad. I know you guys haven't watched any of that yet. Did you guys happen to see Dante Martin getting his freaking foot ripped off?
No.
Penta hit him with a destroyer in a ladder match recently at the last Ring of Honor show over the WrestleMania time frame. And just, oh my God, you guys got to see the video. It's horrendous. But Dante's going to be out for a while. But so he's got the Ring of Honor stuff. He's got 2 shows for AEW. He's got the dark shows that he's running. He's got the football teams. He's got soccer.
Premier League.
My man is doing everything and does not have a team in place to help him with any of it that's like a real team, right? Like, he's got people he leans on and stuff and people to help out. He's already overwhelmed. They are adding a 3rd show, guys.
I know.
They are adding a 3rd show on primetime TV on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Not exactly historically the most watched night for professional wrestling.
No,
the Sunday spot is wide open. Nobody's doing Sundays, and I miss Sunday wrestling. They don't even do pay-per-views on Sundays anymore. Yeah. Sunday's a great night because nobody's out doing stuff on a Sunday. You're at home. You're like, oh, I want to watch something. I got to work tomorrow. I'm trying to get my mind off things. Sunday was the key. But instead, they picked a Saturday night primetime slot. And rumor has it that's apparently they're gonna do like a WWE thing and split the roster. And maybe CM Punk will be featured on Saturday's shows. And the Elite will stick to the Wednesdays and Fridays.
Bad.
Bunch of bitches.
Like, what? What the fuck are we doing?
I have no
this
idea.
Shit is such a mess. It's starting in June, though. Get excited. June 17th. Saturday, June 17th. First show. Whatever. Really? There hasn't been an official announcement yet, but that's how much stuff is leaked. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. But right now, I have no passion for AEW. I watch it in clips and pieces and highlights. I very rarely sit through an entire Dynamite live, and that used to be my favorite night of wrestling during the week.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah,
That
all
was
of us.
must see. That was must see TV for us, man.
It
Yeah.
sucks, man. It
Our whole
sucks.
schedule revolved around it.
Yeah.
I
And
just wait for all the news on Thursday mornings and see if there's anything I need to go watch.
Yeah, and I really think that CM Punk coming back to them is really going to hurt AEW.
Oh, it's going to kill him.
I think it's going to hurt him way more than they think it's going to hurt him. I think Tony Khan thinks it's going to be this great thing. I don't think it is. I think people are upset that he pulled the shit he pulled.
I think maybe more than anybody realizes right now. There's going to be a lot of people that are like, this is just horseshit. We'll see, though. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe the majority likes CM Punk and they hate the Elite. I don't see that being realistic, but maybe it's true.
Right. We'll see.
That's enough about this shitty conglomerate of small companies that seems to be just melting further and further away from being fun. Enjoy Wrestling is back this week, guys.
The best.
Woo!
I love it.
Had fun, right?
Oh yeah.
It was nice. It feels like it's been like an eternity since the last time we saw them. We were dealing with the Odyssey. We know that the big title match is coming up with MV Young and Edith Surreal. Night one, not my favorite so far.
That was
the Thursday show was okay. Both matches were very like they just never really got going for me.
They were calm.
I also had some issues because I had to keep turning the sound off because there was a bunch of shit going on in my house. They were okay. I expected more from the O'Shea Edwards match, but as entertaining as they weren't quite what I wanted. Now, I know that this week coming up, we've got some more stuff, a tag match featuring the Ugly Ducklings, and somebody should be this week, if I'm not mistaken. Those somebodies know who they are. We'll talk soon. What do you guys think?
It's the Ugly Ducklings versus the production, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Ziggy
Haim.
I think there's going to be 2 tag matches this week. If they do the 3-week thing again. If it's 4 or 5 weeks, I'm not sure how they're going to do it. But we'll see. How do you guys feel about the first night of this Enjoy series versus what we love so far?
It was more muted, I would say, slightly more muted. And I want to give a shout out because Meg looked really badass. I love their whole vibe and outfit. Every single time, Meg's always amping it up to the next level of announcer. So I think Meg was really the star of the night one.
It's the gem of Enjoy Wrestling. That's what they say, right?
Yes.
Gem. And where the fuck is Veda?
Veda's.
I know. I really missed Veda.
She's been doing a lot of stuff with Mikey Bailey, and they've been doing GCW things.
That might have been part of what took it away from me too. I miss you. Come back, please.
I did like those guys though. Those guys were good.
Yeah, it was good.
They were good. They were really into it, and I love when he said it's like Hogan slamming Andre at that. that was a great one when he said that. That was funny.
That's the second Hogan Andre reference on this show.
I know, on this show. But I thought the Savannah Evans, Danny Moe, it was fun, but it was like it was very smooth, and it was
I didn't get what I wanted out of that.
No. And Mr. Grimm versus O'Shea Edwards, I was very impressed by Mr. Grimm's strength. I didn't think he could pick up O'Shea like that.
Yeah.
Man. That was really impressive to see him take that big man like that and flip him the way he did. I was like, wow, dude, you underestimate Mr. Grimm. Mr. Grimm's he's got some strength, and he don't look as ripped as O'Shea, but he could slam
Grimm's a
him,
beast,
man.
though.
I was like, dude, that's awesome. So I liked it, but it wasn't as it didn't have the energy of the other Enjoy.
It was
shows.
missing some chaos, I think.
Yeah.
Like with Enjoy, I feel like you get this wonderful sort of crazy kind of disconnected chaotic vibe that feels very controlled, but also feels like it could go off the rails at any second.
Right.
Yes.
Which is that's part of one of the things I like about GCW. Like you feel like at almost any second things could just go super sideways. And I felt that normally with Enjoy. This time I didn't feel that as much. It felt more like 2 powerhouse matches that maybe went a little longer than they should have.
Right. So we'll see how next week goes. I think the production and the duck show is going to be cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
That one's going to be rad because I don't think they ever disappoint.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
I think you guys are going to like the ducklings. They're super weird and super fun.
Oh yeah, that's what Enjoy's all about, man.
Yeah.
I love that element of it. You know? So when you throw that stuff in there, it's killer.
Well, I'm out of stuff to talk about. I think I've been more than negative. I think I've been more negative than I wanted to be. I was hoping to have a little more positivity, but so much stuff is just making me unhappy right now in wrestling. Hopefully the next time that we do this, we'll have a little bit more good stuff to talk about. And maybe some people will straighten their shit out. I don't know. Is there anything else? Any stones we've left unturned?
No, not that I could think of. We're definitely going to be tuning into some GCW. I really want Tammy to do some Impact stuff because they do a 50-50 split women's to men's matches on Impact.
I mean, Tammy, as much as you like strong women's booking, Impact is the way to go. It's just, can you sit through the weird stuff in between the not so great promos and stuff?
Yeah, that's the
matches are fantastic.
That's the only thing that hurts Impact is like they don't have those great promos,
but at least they have them.
Matches.
At least they have promos. GCW doesn't have that.
So I think she'll like the actual matches. I think Jordan Grace is a monster. Masha Slamovich is always good in there. Great in anything she's these days. And so, Mickey James is always fun. She always, goes the extra mile on stuff. And there's a lot of cool characters in there, man. And they made the cover of Pro Wrestling Illustrated this month.
Yep. And Impact has been pretty intriguing lately, so it may be something to pay attention to. Either way, hopefully we can all find something we're actually enjoying in the next couple of weeks. I don't know what all's coming up, but the next time we talk, I have a feeling we'll have some good and some bad.
Yeah, for sure.
But until then, thank you everyone for listening and watching, etc. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you guys again for doing this. It's always a pleasure to speak with both of you and to have our wrestling moments. Until next time, as they say, peace, peace.
Peace.
Peace, peace.